back when I first started teaching, I was teaching in Florida, and I had this really sweet student. And she would be able to sound out a CVC word. Let me know if you've dealt with this before. She would say app perfectly fine. And then she would say something completely off, like computer or like cat or something. She would have it wrong every time. And it was so frustrating because I was doing all the things. We were doing letter sounds, we were practicing blending, and nothing was clicking. And it wasn't until another teacher told me, hey, why don't you try a whisper phone? Let's see if that might help her hear her sounds. And all of a sudden, I did a week of it using the whisper phone and doing the oral blending where I was saying the sounds and she was saying the sounds and then repeating it. So I got rid of the flashcards. I got rid of the CVC words. I just focused on the sound. And then all of a sudden she could read. And 2 weeks later, she was doing blends and digraphs. She just went off. And I was blown away. Like, how was it that one thing? And I see a lot of yes, yes, yes. I'm sure all of you have had a student that has been like this, that has been able to say the sounds and cannot connect it to saying the word. And that's oral blending. So now I took that experience with her and I dove straight into phonemic awareness. So you are here tonight because of that one student. I ended up creating a complete year-long curriculum. I created lots of different engaging activities. I tried things out with my classroom. I tried things out with my own daughter. I created a pre-K phonemic awareness curriculum too, just because I saw the need for it in the lower grades. So it really was from that one student, just kind of set off this snowball effect. So I love sharing that story. It's definitely one of those like teaching moments that you'll always remember. So can you imagine if your students were excited to participate in phonemic awareness lessons and showed remarkable progress? By connecting these phonemic awareness skills to phonics, you'll see even bigger improvements in their reading abilities. And this approach will boost student engagement, enhance their foundational literacy skills, and deliver impressive results. So you're like, yes, that sounds amazing. So that's where we're going. We're going to chat about a couple of different things. First, we're going to go over common challenges because I think it's very important to see some tiny minor mistakes that you might be making that you don't even realize. Then we're going to go over how to set up an effective phonemic awareness routine. So even if you're already doing phonemic awareness, I might have a little tip or two for you. The next one is connecting phonemic awareness skills to phonics skills. And this is the meat of this presentation tonight. I'm so excited because I really haven't done a live training on this specific topic. And it is just, once you understand this piece, your students will be reading better than ever. And then, of course, I love anything hands-on, anything tactile. I have lots of Play-Doh activities and things like that. So we got to talk about hands-on activities to try. And then finally, we'll have a question and answer time where you can ask me any questions. And I have a little special offer inside as well. So today I'm going to teach you how to create an effective and powerful phonemic awareness routine. So first, we're going to dive into some common phonemic awareness challenges. So you may be thinking, okay, I struggle a little bit with phonemic awareness. I want you to think about these things. The first one is lack of consistency. So this is the most common mistake I see happening. You have all the good intentions to teach it daily, but things come up. You have limited time. You know, it's easy to just push it off to the side and just go straight to phonics. But it's easy to get inconsistent with these activities, and it can leave some gaps in students' learning. The next one is an overemphasis on phonics before having a solid phonemic awareness foundation. So you just dive right into phonics and you're missing that like oral blending piece. So exactly what I was talking about with that student, she was missing the oral blending piece. She struggled with phonics. So it's just like if you're building a house, you need a solid foundation for your house because you don't want your house to wash away in a flood. So it's really important to make sure that you are teaching phonemic awareness. And then, of course, that kind of goes along with it. You're not connecting the phonemic awareness skills to the phonics practice. And I know as teachers, it's really hard to balance those phonemic awareness with other curriculum demands. You feel like you have so much on your plate at one time. It's hard to find time to plan effective lessons. Planning a lesson can take up to 20, 30 minutes, depending on what you're teaching. And then it's always a little tricky to make it engaging for students who have a ton of different skill levels. I know I would walk into my kindergarten classroom and I would have students who couldn't write their name, and I had students who were reading chapter books one year. It was crazy to try to differentiate that instruction. So after you realize that I want to acknowledge these common mistakes and challenges without dwelling on the negatives. If you've been making those mistakes or you're struggling with that challenge, it's okay. We've all been there. Now that we recognize these issues, we're going to focus on finding effective solutions, and that's exactly what I'm here to help you with. So here's what your after is going to look like. You're going to have a simplified planning process, consistent daily practice for just 5 minutes. Trust me, 5 minutes. You're going to be able to seamlessly connect those phonemic awareness skills to phonics, and then find some engaging activities for better retention, because when students are hands-on and they're really into it, they're going to remember those skills. So let's get into setting up an effective phonemic awareness routine. So I'm going to run through the phonemic awareness routine that I did for years. I've done it with my own daughter. It works. And it just takes 5 minutes, which is like the best part. So here is the sample routine. First, you go over the flashcard practice. So we're going to practice letters and sounds together from day one. That's that connecting phonemic awareness to phonics. And here's what it's going to look like. You're going to show the letters and make the sounds at the same time. You're going to say A, ah. They're going to repeat A, ah. Then you're going to make a sound and the hand motion. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you the hand motions real quick. You can YouTube like hand motions for phonics sounds. You can come up with your own. That's kind of what I did. I kind of just came up with my own. But I'm just going to go through the alphabet to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So when I'm saying the different sounds and my students are repeating, I would say A, ah, ah, like you're biting an apple. So A, B, K, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, O, M, N, A, P, Q, R, S, T, A, V, W, X, Y, Z. And so I would just do that with each sound. You don't have to do all of the alphabet every single day. You can pick like 5 and 6 to focus on. Usually a couple times a week, I would do the entire alphabet. As the year goes on, you can add in additional phonics patterns. So if you teach kindergarten, this is probably not going to be until mid-end year. If you teach first grade, you'll be able to add them in a lot sooner. So I'm talking about digraphs, blends, CBCE, long vowels, and all you need is a simple flashcard. It can just say the letter. It can just be the lowercase letter. It can be the letter and a picture. I'll show you some examples towards the end of different ones you can use. It doesn't really matter what you use, it just matters that you do this. And then for that engagement piece, I love the song Phonicize by Dr. Jean. You can find it on YouTube. It's kind of old school, but pretty much what it does is she goes through the whole alphabet, you say the letter, and you lift your arms up, A, ah, you say the sound and touch your shoulders, and then you touch the floor and say a word that starts with that sound. So you'd say apple, and all the kids would say different words for each letter. It's just a little fun song instead of just doing the flashcards every single day. But it is important that you do this routine every single day, just because it really helps them connect those letters and sounds. So now we're going to go into the core activity. So this is like the meat of the lesson. you're going to go through 2 to 3 specific skills per day. And now these skills, you're going to practice all week long. So if you're doing oral blending, you're going to do oral blending all week long with CVC words. If you're going to do phoneme manipulation with substituting beginning sounds, you're going to do that all week long. And what you're going to do is you're just going to repeat throughout the year. So you're continually doing oral blending, you're continually doing phoneme manipulation. You're doing this all throughout the year. It's really important to continue to go back and practice, because even though they've got oral blending down, you need that consistency. You can do a mix of phonemic and phonological awareness skills. So phonological awareness skills like rhyming, so identifying rhyming pairs or producing a rhyming word. You can also do syllables that goes along with that. The 3 main ones that you're going to focus on are blending, segmenting, and manipulation. And we're going to talk about that next. So if you're not sure what that is, or you kind of want more information, we're getting there. And then you can also add in other language skills like expression fluency. So that's when you say a sentence and the students will copy you. And it's either a statement, a question, or an exclamation, and they have to mimic that expression. Repeating sentences or naming if it's a letter, word, or sentence. These are language awareness skills. You don't have to do that, but I really find it helpful to just kind of bring everything in, and it does help with their writing. So a few tips for teaching. First, we're going to talk about classroom environment. So the best way I did this was the students sat on the floor. I would sit in a chair with my clipboard. My lesson was on my clipboard, ready to go. The reason why I suggest that you have your students sit on the floor in front of you is because sometimes when they're sitting at desks, it's really hard to scan the room and see what your students are doing. You want to be watching them as you're teaching this lesson. So if they're in one area, it's so much easier to see, okay, the student's not doing it, the student is, and kind of correcting them. The next is visuals and movement. I am a very hands-on person. I use my hands when I talk. It's really good to use your hands as you're teaching. So if you are segmenting, you can pull your hands apart and then pull them back together to say the sounds. K, at. So they kind of really hear that middle sound. And then I do, we do, you do. So this is my go-to method for teaching phonemic awareness. It's really hard at first for students to get these skills, and they might have never done this before in their life. So you have to remember that. So I show them exactly how I'm going to do it. I would say, okay, today we're going to do oral blending. We're going to listen to 3 sounds. Ah, p. Did you hear that? Okay, I want you to say those 3 sounds. Ah, p. Great. Okay, now we're going to listen to that. We're going to say those sounds and we're going to blend them together to say the word. Ready? Up, hop. You can even go up, hop, and that will actually help them when they're actually reading the words. So that's what you do first, and they just repeat after you. The first couple times, if all they're doing is repeating, that's fine. Eventually you'll get to the we do. You do it together. You might do one, they might finish it, or you might do one, they might do one. And then finally you do is probably towards the end of the week, towards the end of the year, you'll do a lot more you do where you say the sounds, they say the word. And then finally, I cannot emphasize this enough, but you want to emphasize the importance daily. I would always say, this is the most important part of our day because it helps us become strong readers. And everybody would make muscles and be strong readers. And honestly, my students would remind me if I was about to forget, or if we had like a fire drill that came up, they were like, oh, Mrs. Harrell, you have to do the phonemic awareness. We have to read. So it's really important to show them like how important this time is. And then at the end, it's just a quick review. Sometimes I would do an informal assessment where I would have a checklist and I would go through and do a couple extra words and check off whether a student was able to do it or not, just to kind of help me see where all of my students were. So that is the sample routine. It takes about 5 minutes of your time. That's it. And my number one tip for phonemic awareness success, be consistent. Just like I just said, no matter what the day throws at you, rain or shine, there's an assembly, there's a field trip, this was the one thing I did every single day. Even if we were going to be on a field trip all day, we'd sit down. I had 10 minutes. Okay, let's do this. It really, really, truly makes the biggest difference. So I want you to think about your current phonemic awareness routine. It does not have to be exactly like mine. Maybe you just do one skill a day. That's okay too. I want you to pick one area that you can improve on, or you can pick something to add to your routine. So maybe you're not doing flashcard practice and you want to start adding that in. Maybe you just want to try out that song instead of using flashcards. Let me know in the comments